Okay, so for those of you who haven't not been to one of my demos, my name is Scott Hampton. So we're going to turn some natural edge bowls, which are going to be fun. So this is one with the bark. Here's a smaller one. I really like the shape of this one better. This one's kind of just rounded all the way around. No foot. Just kind of rolls around wherever I put it. This one has a small foot on it. There. But I prefer like the bell shape, almost like an OG curve on the outside, which is nice. So this is the one that was in the picture. But what you couldn't see is the stitches I put in it. It's a very interesting way to do things like these kind of bowls, especially if you got a split. And like this one did. I was just about ready to, I was just finishing up the inside, getting it all nice and shaped, and it just popped. Thankfully, it didn't fly apart. This part just kind of split right open. Then, so I got my, what I use is a, what do they call those? It's some sort of biscuit joiner. And I clamp it down and I just kind of plow it in there. Then I slide these stitches in it, a little bigger than what the out, and then I just turn them down smooth so they match the inside and outside. So, but that's a whole nother demo I think I'll do in a few months maybe. It's always a fun thing to do. So, oh, natural edge and a live edge. Well, they're kind of pretty much the same. The ones with the bark left on there, a lot of people call those live edge. They're also natural edge. Natural edge too would be like on a Burl, which I'm going to show later, but this is the Burl I'll be turning. But this is all jagged edge. This would be considered an actual natural edge because there's no bark. But a live edge has the bark and it shows the sapwood or the white area around the ring around the, as you can see there. So that makes it a live edge right there. Yeah, the tree is dead, but people consider if it's got the sapwood in there, they like to call these live edge because it has the sapwood ring in there. So today's demo, we're going to start with this. This is the cherry piece of cherry log that I've got. It's got still has you can see the bark still on it. Hopefully it'll hold on. It's been sitting up on my wood shelf, this piece, for like 4 or 5 years probably, maybe even longer. So but it's nice and sealed. It hasn't cracked. There's no cracks in it. It's nice and solid, so we shouldn't have any problems there. It's a really nice solid piece. It is a little oval, so I'm going to have to work on that a little bit while I get to turning it. But we'll get it round and we'll get it started. So what I'm going to show you now is how I mount the pieces. So I'm going to do the overhead here. So this is my homemade, what people like to call elio drives or point drives. You clamp it in your chuck, just like here. You can I got it to where I can either use a recess or I can clamp it down on the tenon. I like to use the recess because it is a stronger hold for this. And what I've done is I've just taken some bolts and I've ground them on my grinder. Do not use CBN wheels when grinding these. It'll tear them up. You have to use stone wheels if you plan to make these. And as you can see, it's just got those threaded inserts you can buy at the hardware store that you just pound into the wood a little ways. And that's what holds the thread in these parts. The reason you want threads is you can adjust the depth depending on the bark. Now the middle one is longer because you drill a hole right in the center of the blank for this. That make sure that the wood's going to be stable. You're going to have the tailstock up. And once that's on there and the tailstock's up, it cannot come off the lathe unless the piece of wood just blows apart on you, which rarely happens unless you're using a really bad piece of wood, which you shouldn't be doing to begin with. So what I want to do is I'll mount this. Oh, let me show you the other ones. Now this is similar. This is a commercial type. As you can see, it's called the Elio drive. You can buy this from the Woodturning store from Todd Raines. I believe that's the name of this shop. I'll have to look it up, and I'll put later on I'll put his link in the chat for you guys during the break. And he sells these at different sizes. You can get them 1 inch, 1.5, and then this is the largest one here. I might be using this for the Burl. I'm not sure. It depends on the shape of the spikes. I might have to use both of these. This one for both pieces, but I just wanted to show you the two ones I like to use. You can use 4 prongs. If you do that, like I already did this, which I didn't need to do, but this was cut so long ago before I made this drive that you want to cut using a Forstner bit, cut below the bark, solid wood, and then you just use like a 4-prong or a 2-prong center in your drive. You want to pound these in. That's the simplest way. But I like these other ones because they're a lot more steady, and they hold the wood much better through the bark. These can slip. These can actually drill into the wood, causing you problems, making the wood slip and cause catches. So that's why I like the drives that I showed. So I'm just going to use the recess. I'm going to recess this in, which means I'm going to be opening up the jaws into the recess here. Another reason why I like this kind of drive is you can adjust where the bark is so you can get it even, which is kind of hard to do with the 4-prong jaws. So I just snug this up, not so tight that it's going to crack the wood, of course. Now I just need to drill a hole right in the center there. It's already marked. Let me grab my drill. I'm just going to eyeball this. I just need to go about right there, so I can see that. That should be deep enough. I used the calipers just to make sure I had the right size drill bit. This should slide on there. If not, yep, there we go. All right. So what you can see in the upper part, I am going to get this a little bit straighter. So you can, I'm just going to switch over just to complete overhead here. There we go. And what you want to do is you want the low ends on the bottom and the top here when you put this on. You're just going to bring it up to where you got the highest point of the blank in the points. So you can just turn it until it matches. Try to get that low point right here, right where you've got a line drawn. That's the center. So I've got that there and that there. Now I'm just going to bring up my tailstock. Should have slid it over a minute ago. There we go. And the reason why I'm not finding the center is because I am going to adjust this. That's one thing I should have done. Let me take the tail center out real quick. I need to take the point out. The reason being, if you have the point in, and you're trying to move the the tail center around, it's always just going to find that little hole, the original little hole, and you're never going to get it right. So there we go. Pop that out. I like these. Very handy to have a point or not point. Let's slide this back in and get the tail stock out of, or my tool rest out of the way a little better. Slide this back up again, as close as I can. There we go. Get it good and tight. And now what we want to do is crank it in just a little bit. Make sure your tail stock is good and tight there, and it's pushing those points right into the under the bark right now. It's really going in there, isn't it? So I'm going to grab me a wrench here in a minute just to tighten those down. But first what we want to do is we want to bring the tool rest up. Just use your finger here. And you want to find the lowest point using your finger and see how it matches up on the other end. See how close you are. So I'm just using this part of the sapwood line right there. Both sides have it. It's still not tightening down. I don't know what's going on there. It shouldn't have came out that far.
Scott?
Yeah.
It looks like as you tighten down, your headstock is moving.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, shoot. Thank you. I was like, why isn't it tightening it up? Thank you.
Don't ask me how I know that many times.
Oh, yeah. Me too. It happens. There we go. Thank you. It's like, what in the world is going on? My tailstock shouldn't be moving like that. It's not tightening up. So what I'm just gonna do this one more time so I don't have the tailstock so far extended. The farther you have it extended, the more vibration issues you'll probably run into. So you just want to get it as close as you can. There we go. Oh man, that's better. I was just puzzled there for a moment. Thank you. So I got this line right here, as you can see. And I just put my finger on it just to see how close I'm coming. So I'm pretty close right there. I need to just, I just need to loosen the tailstock. And then, because this part needs to drop a little bit. So that's what I'm going to check the top first here too, see how well I'm on there. Yeah, this thing is way out of center. So it's going to be a fun turning experience. I'll be using my large spool gouge on this one. So the top is even, except it's not touching my finger because it's got a slight crack there, but it looks like it's superficial, not very deep at all. But the low part's not matching up, so I want to got that one right there. Well, maybe I'm going to grab me a pencil, just go around and just to check. See how far off I am. So I might, yeah, should be okay. This is all going to get turned away anyway. This part is just a little bit out. We're going to adjust this a few times as we go, because it is going to change as we cut the wood, because the way the blank was cut, this part was probably just lower to begin with. So we need to do some shaping here. So I'm just going to make sure my tailstock is good and cranked down. I'll make sure those points are in there really good and tight, which they look like they are. A lot of times, you just use your tailstock and those points will go right into the wood, right through the bark. If it doesn't, you just want to use a wrench to tighten them up. They feel good and snug. All right. I'm going to grab me my 5/8 bowl gouge and we'll get to turning here. Make sure your tool rest is out of the way. Always start your lathe at the 0 speed and turn it up, because this is going to be out of balance. And if you forget to turn it down from your last project, say you're making like a box or something and you're turning it at 1500 RPMs, and you forget that and you put that on there and turn it on at 1500 RPMs, you're gonna be running for cover, believe me. Not that I've ever done it, but I've seen it done, and it scares the heck out of anybody that's seen it or done it. So I've got my tool rest on an angle. I've got the point of my gouge is going to be on center when it's parallel to the floor. And when I'm going to start to cut, my cut is going to be at 45 degrees. The tool's going to be at 45 degrees, and I'm just going to be cutting right in this area of the tip here. Just right in this area here. Maybe a little further back, but I'm not going to be using this whole point, as it'll cause a dig in. That's what the side grinds are really, really good for. So I'm going to slide that back just a little bit and just take my time turning it up. See if I can get past this vibration. I am not. Oh, yeah, I did. Good. All right. Sometimes it'll start vibrating, and sometimes if you turn it up just a little bit more, you can turn past that vibration. All right, that's a little too much. There we go. So I'm just going to start working on the corner here. It's going to be a little bit of a rough cut until you start getting solid wood. Oh, I just lost my remote for my camera, so let this stop, and I'm going to reach under my lathe to get it. Don't reach under your lathe while it's running. Your hair can get caught in the spinning wood, all kinds of nasty things like that. So you can see I've got some solid wood there and some not. Let me go to the shoulder cam. You can see that. So that's where it's really out of shape right there. I still haven't been able to cut this part. So this was the furthest most out towards the tailstock, and this is closest into the headstock. So I'm going to come around and do some push cuts into that. To that where it's rough there. All right, so I'm just going to get to some solid wood here by doing some push cuts in towards the headstock. I just want to get the bottom balanced. I'm just going to lower my tool rest just a little bit because of the cuts I'm doing. And this cherry is making my nose run, unfortunately. Should have took an allergy pill before I started this. All right. So I'm just working on the bottom right now just to get it nice and even to solid wood. I was wondering, can you guys hear the sound of the lathe, the cut? Because last time, during my last demo, the sound suppression was cutting that part out. So, David, can you hear the lathe while I'm cutting it?
Not just kind of sporadically, not very much.
Okay, let me change. It's kind of funny to watch a demo when you can't hear what's going on. So I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna change the suppression a little bit. That should probably help. Especially during a recording, you want to be able to hear that part. So let me know if this helps. Does that help?
Much better.
Okay. So I'm almost to solid wood here. Still a little wobbly there, so I'm going to move my tool rest in a little bit, give it a little more support. Just do a draw cut. Now this is solid wood right here, definitely. You can just tell by the feel of the cut how the tool's not bouncing anymore when you get out to this end right here. By doing this, it's going to allow me to start my push cuts much easier than trying to fight the wood. Oh, yeah, should have took an allergy pill. Ah. All right, so I'm going to do some push cuts in towards the headstock here. So I need to take some of this away. That's where it's really out of round. That's why I'm trying to do push cuts. So I'm working into the solid wood here instead of trying to remove all that. I would really be fighting the wood. So it's much easier to do push cuts this way. And I'm going to see how far I am towards the bark. Okay, so I'm just about there. And then we can start doing the actual shaping of it. This is just the rough cuts. As you can see, I'm just removing a lot of wood for each cut. And I stop when the cut gets too big right here. Sometimes I'll take a smaller cut just to clear all that out right there. So, my nose, my nose. Might run into the house in a second, get me an allergy pill. So I'm just going to start a push cut from right here. And when I start getting it where it's rough and I'm cutting air, because basically that's what I'm doing, when I get to this point right here, I need to adjust my tool rest. And right in here, I'm starting to cut air, as you can see. I'm not hitting any solid wood right there. So that's where the tool's been bouncing. It's right in that area. That's why it's not cutting there, but it'll smooth out in a moment. That's where it's really cutting. This is where it's really off. This is where the old big oval was, where it's really out of shape, and this is where it's more rounded. So that's why it's taking off more quicker on this side. So another push cut starting from the bottom, and hopefully we'll get all the way to the top. Woo. I'm going to put my face shield on because I'm getting blasted with chips now. Hopefully my mic doesn't get too muffled. Let me know if it does. There we go. So you got to take nice, slow, easy cuts through here. So I'm going to move my tool rest a little closer to that area. So I'm going to ease up on it. I'm going to do it underhand, hold the tool underhanded here. And use my thumb to apply pressure on the top of the tool. Okay, it's not ready for that, so I got to go back overhand again. We're almost to solid wood all the way around. It's good to stop and check. So those rough cuts that I'm hitting, it's causing some tear out there. So what I need to do is start doing some more push cuts. Oh, that crack is still there. I'll fill that in with some CA glue in a moment once we get the final shape there, if the crack is still in appearance. So I'm going to just check to see how balanced we are as far as where the bark is. So we're just a little bit off now. So I'm going to have to readjust that. Try to do a few more rough cuts. The top is still pretty much even. So I'm just going to start working on a few more rough cuts. I got a kind of a knot right here in the, oh, my camera moved. Darn it. I've got a knot right there, as you can see, that showed up. That was inside the wood. I couldn't see it beforehand. Sometimes you just run into these things while you're wood turning. You never know what you're going to find in the wood. You can find even bullets and nails and rocks and all kinds of things. So I'm starting this cut. I'm putting my right foot forward. I'm putting my left foot behind me, and I'm just using my body to do the cut. I'm not using my arms. This actually gives you a lot more control. So you can see it's a much smoother cut. I'm riding the bevel a little bit more. Okay, so I'm coming up to where it's cutting air. So what happened in this area, why it's so rough looking, is I wasn't quite riding the bevel. So I'm going to come back and clean that up. Get that cut back up. See the difference when you're riding or floating the bevel behind the cut. Gives you a much smoother and less rough looking cut. Now you can see the difference that really made right there. What I was doing is I was pulling the tip away, not quite riding the bevel right there, which costs a lot of tool marks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start doing the shape. So I want to adjust where the bark is. You can see some of it has come off, but that's okay. I don't mind that. It's still a pretty bowl. All right, so this is the lower point. So what I need to do is come in here and put this at the top and just drop it just a little bit by loosening up your tailstock here. I did leave that a little bit extra wood right there, so I can do a little bit of adjustment. So I left a little bit of a 10 in there where the tailstock just goes. Just tighten it up a little bit and just double check that. There we go. Pretty much on there. And you want to check the top. We're good there. Now we can start shaping. Now, like I said, I like the OG type of shape of the bowl when it comes to this. Sometimes I like to make them round like I showed you on that other one. Let me pull that OG shape one I made. Let's see, where are you? This was out of the same log, actually, of what we're using now. This is a piece of cherry. It's not finished or anything. No oil or anything on it. It's just been weathering this way in my shop. As you can see, it's got a... Let's see if I can get that there. There we go. You can see that nice OG shape starting from the bottom. And then it just kind of curves in a little bit. And then works its way out. Just like that. And that makes a really nice, pleasing shape to a natural edge bowl. So that's what I always try to shoot for. So what I need to do now is I need to make this area a little bit smaller through here. So I'm going to do some cuts. I'm going to curve this around. And then I'm going to bring that in a little bit. And then I'll bring the cut all the way back out this way. Like this. Let me draw that on the... I had a pencil here. So let me do it on the camera here and go overhead. So what I want to do is I want to put the foot on there. It's not going to be a big foot. But you want to bring that flare out from the foot. Just a curve. This ain't going to be exact, but then you just want to bring it in. This isn't the scale or anything, so, and then you just want to bring it back out like this. That gives you a good idea of what I'm shooting for there. So I need to make the bottom a bit smaller. So it is out around again, so that's normal. It's because I had to adjust it. But as we do the final cuts through here, when I'm doing these shapes, it's going to clear that out around this out of the piece. So it's not running off center so much. So I'm just working down in steps. That's the easiest way I find to do this. Instead of doing one big long cut. And then we'll be able to do a final shaping of it here in a moment. We're close to the final shape. There we go. So what I want to do is I just want to create a curve along these. So I'm just going to do some pull cuts using the wing of the tool. And make a flat area here for the foot. Make a nice little step where the foot's going to be. Nice little, like, almost like a dovetail. We'll clean that up a little bit with a the spindle gouge in a minute. We just want to get the general shape done. And you can see I'm just bringing this, doing pull cuts, just bringing that in a little bit. Oh, sounds like we got somebody else that came in. That's great. We got about half of the people that signed up inside here watching, but that's fine because the recording is just as nice. The only problem with that is you can't ask questions. You can send me emails and ask me questions, but it's not a live thing, so. You can see that shape taking place on the bottom here that I was looking for. I still need to take some more off here, so I'm going to do a push cut. This is what I call roughing in the shape. Before we do anything final. Just ease the cut out. And I need to bring this tool back in here. Get that shape back in there. So I'm going to stop there because on the top of this, right through here, to help keep the bark on there, I'm going to put some CA glue on there, and then I'm going to do push cuts down in this direction. So if I keep going this way against the bark, it's going to cause some of it to peel off. But I still need to get some of that curve in here before I do the push cuts down this way. But it's looking pretty good. We just need to go a little bit further in this direction here. And then start bringing the cut out, create that curve, just leaning back on my feet. So right there, I'm not using my bevel. That's why I'm getting these rough cuts right now. But I'll come back with a smaller bowl gouge in a moment and clean that up by doing a push cut with it. Got kind of a bump right in this area. I want to clean that out of here. You can see that kind of a bell shape, which is actually an OG curve taking shape. Smooth that out just a little bit so it's not so hard on the 1/2-inch bowl gouge. There we go. So this is my 1/2-inch Thompson bowl gouge. I've got a lot of Sorby tools too. That's what I started with, and I still have several of them that I use, but as they wear down and get used up, I've been switching over to either Carter & Sons tools or a Thompson lathe tool, chisels like this. So I'm going to move some of this out of the way so off the table underneath my lathe so I'm not knocking into it. So what I want to do is I want to bring this around and I want to get that bevel rubbing as soon as I can. Just a nice gentle cut. Doesn't have to be real deep. You just want to get that, pick up a cut there. And what's happening is I'm bringing the bevel too far away from the wood, and I'm losing the cut. There we go. And then I just want to swing it around that curve. So I'm cutting air now. That's why it's getting a little rough. And we're going to be doing a lot of air cutting when it comes to that burl. When we get to that part during the second half. So that's a little bit better. Still some lines there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in. I'm just going to do a shear cut by dropping my tool rest a little bit. Just like that. That way it'll allow me to drop my handle as I do the cut. So I need to readjust this because I'm running into the knob of my tool rest here, my banjo. There we go. Just want to make sure you got all clearance here so you're not going to do a practice thing across there. Make sure you're going to be staying on the tool rest. Once you got to adjust it out a little bit. And I do these cuts a little bit above center. And just do a practice to make sure I'm just not going to run into anything and the tool's going to stay on the tool rest the entire time. Once it is now, that should be good. So I'm going to see if I can turn up the lathe a little bit faster. Should be able to because a lot of it is balanced now. Turn it down just a little bit. There we go. I'm at 1200, and you'll be able to see the nice, really thin hair-like shavings that'll come off of this. So what I want to do is I'm just going to be cutting along the wing. I'm going to close the flute almost all the way when I do this. I'm going to start right here, almost it touched the foot there, so I want to avoid that. And you can see those fine hairs coming off of the wood. So it's a little bit rough still, so I can feel it bouncing my tool around. It's right here. So that's where I'm starting to run into the air, so I don't want to go beyond that. This is just to get rid of most of these tool marks before we do any sanding. Just want to stop right there. That's where the bark is right there, and that's what I'm running into as I'm starting to cut air. You can see it's causing a tool mark right there. So I cleaned it up some. I'm going to go over it one more time. I'm going to grab me my larger tool just to see if that does any better. Back to my 5/8. Do the same kind of cut. Sometimes the weight of the extra weight of a larger tool helps. And you can see where the lines are where I'm trying to get rid of. That's what I'm working on in those areas. Adjust my tool rest a little bit. There we go. That should be good enough for finishing, for sanding. First, we want to do those push cuts towards the bottom. I know that's not what you're supposed to be doing, because you're working against the fibers of the wood when you do that. So I got to be careful of this, make sure it doesn't hit the tool rest. I want to get it adjusted as close as I can. I need to drop it a little bit. Make sure my tool is still on center. Okay, the tool rest is still a little too high. There we go, that's better. So now what I want to do is just do those push cuts, nice and gentle into it. Get a drink. Oop. All right. So I'm going to use the 5/8 again just to get those cuts done. I'm going to move my tool rest in as close as I can. There we go. And I'm just going to 45 degrees on the tool right here, and I'm just going to bring it right down into that area, right in the meet up with that original cut right there. But let me put some CA glue on here first, just to help hold things together. And I don't use the accelerator on this because sometimes it can cause it to bubble up. And that's really hard to get out of the wood once it does that. So I'm just gonna, I think I need to trim a little bit off that tip a little bit. There we go. I ran out of my regular CA glue, so I ran to the hardware store. This is Loctite CA glue. And I just want to put it on first. That way any residue that's left by the glue, you'll be cutting that off. So I'm just going to let this soak in. That crack is still there, so I'm going to fill that in. I'm going to grab me some shavings and just rub that right in there. Kind of hide it a little bit better. Fill it in a little bit. It doesn't stand out so much when the final cutting's done. Almost there. By the time I get all the way around to where I started, that part's going to be already set. There's a little bit of a crack there that's directly across from that other one. There must have been a split somewhere while it was drying. And I started there, so I'm almost there. I don't need to put gobs and gobs of glue on this. I'm almost out of glue, actually. Oh, this bottle didn't last long, did it? There we go. I'm gonna push it a little bit harder. There we go. I did get some CA glue on my thumb though, but I'll get that off later. Let this set up for a minute. I'm not going to turn on my lathe to do it because it'll just splatter glue everywhere. I'm just going to turn it by hand, give it a little extra air. So you can see that shape is developed really nice. It's kind of hard to tell on the camera because of the camera angle. Let me turn it a little bit so you guys can maybe see it a little bit better. There we go. So we still got to take this part down. That's going to be the push cut inward. You can see that nice shape. We could adjust that if we want to after this push cut, just to, if we need us to take this area down just a little bit more, maybe. Right now it feels pretty good in the hand. There is a bump right here I need to work on. We'll do that after we get this part done. So let's get that going. It should be set up by now. It's nice and solid, I think. I'm just going to spray. I will use a little bit of accelerator on it. It's kind of glue's taking longer to dry than my regular. It's really light spritz. This is light spray. Right, now this will evaporate off the wood, so it's not going to stain the wood. I need a drink again. All right, we're ready to go. Yeah, that's good and dry now. So we're just going to turn down the lathe, start it up to a speed that we're happy with. That's not too dangerous. And I want to readjust my tool rest. It doesn't look quite right. I think I need to adjust it a little bit more this way. The straight on should be good and safe. So that's just going to take it right in there. So adjust it just a little bit more. There we go. That should do it. All right, see how this does. I can turn it up a little bit faster than that. At a 1200. If you're cutting air, the faster you can turn it, the better. So the cut's not quite so much interrupted. You get a smoother cut. Just do these light cuts here. Float that bevel behind the cut. Just ease it out. So what I'm doing is I'm backing it up and rubbing the bevel all the way to where the edge is so I can feel it. Nice, and then I can move the tool in just a little bit, pick up a cut. And I'm looking at the horizon up this way for the shape I'm creating. I'm not looking at the tool. Ease that out. See, I can come back in and clean all that up. I just want to get this final shape on the top. So I need to come in just a little bit more. So I'm just going to bring the handle away from me just a little bit. Keep it in my hip though. Use my body to push this cut through. Lost it, so I need to come back and pick it up. Bring the cut out. And stop the lathe. It's going to leave some roughness. We've still got that crack. I guess that crack goes all the way through, apparently. That's a bummer. This will be a good candidate for those stitches if it ever opens up. You can see that shape that I was looking for. It's kind of there. There's a bump right there I need to get rid of. I need to come back in. I can see it right there. So I'm just going to pick up that cut. Ride the bevel as much as I can through that interrupted cut. Bring the tool out. We're going to come back the other way with a push cut and get rid of that bump that's developing right there. So that's what I was looking for. Nice. That's what I got right there. So I'm done with the push cut, so I can come back in here and just clean that area back up. Adjust the shape a little bit more. Then we're going to flip the piece over. And this is a dovetail. I'm just going to probably deepen this a little bit because this is going to also be the tenon that I'll be grabbing the piece with. So I need to just start rubbing the bevel there. Pick up a cut. I'm just going to take that bump out and bring that shape in. I'm looking at the horizon. This part of the tool or the piece there just to match up the cut to that curve. And just kind of ease that cut out. Still got a little bit of that bump. Okay, so this is where you just want to take light cuts. You don't want to overdo it. Better take a little bit off and too much. Just take too much off, you're never going to get it back on, of course. I'm going to stop the lathe. I still think I need to take a bit more off. Yeah, I need to create that curve just a little bit deeper right through here. So I'm just gonna start back here at the bottom, start with the handle of my lathe chisel away, and then I'm gonna bring it into my body. Ride the bevel, and then kind of swing my hip out where I got the handle in my hip. Swing my hip away from me, and as I go, it'll ease out of that cut. And we've got a nice curve again. Clean that up a little bit. Still see a bit of a bump through here, so I'm going to get rid of that. Especially right there where the lower part of the bowl is. And still a bump. So it's right where this is. I need to work on that. Just this area right here will be fine. So I'm going to touch the bevel. I'm going to bring the handle in towards me until I pick up a cut. Put the handle on my hip, swing the hip away from me. As I make these short bursts of cuts. And I think just a couple more passes will probably get rid of that bump, maybe. Oh, it's gone. There's still part of it right there, right in this area right here. I'm looking at the horizon, trying to get a nice shape going here. You guys should be able to see it developing on the camera. And I just need to adjust this area here. It's got a bump. Right in here. I'm almost there. Just need to stop it right here. There we go. Wow, these bumps just don't want to go away. I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to this kind of stuff. Sorry about that if it seems like I'm going on and on, but any of you guys know it. I've been in this, watching my demos for a while, know that sometimes I get a little carried away. So there is a bump right here, and it's easier for me to do a push cut towards it. Get rid of it. Oh yeah, there we go. So I just need to clean this area up. I'm just going to do some pull cuts here just to straighten that out. Get rid of any bumps. Maybe some tool marks. I'm just using my wing of my tool. Some pull cuts here across the surface. Alright. Still too much of a bump right there, so I'm going to take a deeper cut. You want these curves to flow in nicely together. Now for the Burl bowl I'm going to be making, I'm not going to go through this much filling and stuff. It's just going to be your average shaped bowl. It's just the spikes on it that set it off the most. A couple more pull cuts just to do some cleanups. Get everything nice and evened out. make it feel better in the hand. Then I'll just do one more shear cut across the face. All right, that feels pretty good. Yeah, except for that crack is. Just drop my handle down again. We're just going to do this a couple of passes, maybe one or two. This is what you want to do before you sand. That way you don't have to start it like 80 grit or 100 grit. You do this well and nice and slow, which I was doing a little bit too fast. You start it usually at 180 grit, which will save you a lot of time, a lot of effort as far as going and doing sanding. There we go. All right, so now we just need to adjust the foot so we can make that into a tenon. So let me grab me a spindle gouge here. So we can make a nice little tenon there. It's not quite deep enough for that. So we can adjust that just by doing this. There we go, that's good and deep. And we can use the spindle gouge the same way we did the bowl gouge. Turn it on, use that wing. Adjust the shape coming off of that tenon. Now we need a flat spot right here. So we're going to reverse turn this after we hollow out the inside. Need a nice sharp corner. I'm going to be using a Talon jaws, which are straight jaws, so I don't actually need to create a dovetail, but you do want to have a nice sharp corner right there between the flat part and the end of the tenon. So now what we need to do is just work on taking that big notch down in the center. We're not going to need that anymore. Get a 1/2 inch bowl gouge and just whittle this down. Being careful not to let it come off the lathe. Just going to kind of whittle this down a little bit more. Because it's got a hole in it and those spikes, even if that comes loose a little bit, it's not going to go anywhere. There we go. Gonna flatten that out a little bit. Here we go. Sometimes you can take a heavy mount or tool, chisel, and we're gonna back this off. And we can, oh no, this light is spinning, huh? I did some work on my lathe, cleaned out the tailstock, and I had to rethread the headstock on the spindle. I accidentally, during a demo at the end of February, I accidentally stripped some of the threads, which wasn't a joyous thing to do right when there's like 300 people watching during that demo. So let's see if I can, there we go. So I was looking for, now we're gonna clean that up and reverse turn it. We just want to pop that off. And it's strange how they look, because they look oval, but this one looks more oval than normal. That's because I put this bell shape on it, like that. You guys can see it's an OG curve. So we just want to put this in a chuck. There we go. Just open them up a little bit. Now I like these jaws because they have serrations in it. It causes you really have a nice grip. Dovetail jaws, you have to get them just so exact. And these, the way the threads are, or serrations are, you've got a gripping power, right? And this, all along here, there's 2 gripping areas with the threads on each jaw. Instead of the points, which you'll come across using a dovetail, if you open it up too far. See, I can open this up a little bit further than the normal tenon. Most of the time you want your tenon to be the same size as your jaws. But with these serrations and these on this chuck, on these jaws, allows me to open them up quite a ways and still get a really good grip. A lot of people ask me why I like them so much, and that's why, instead of dovetail jaws. So I want to make sure this is, so I'm too low. Get this on center. So I'm going to show you this way, and then I'm going to show you using a round carbide tool just to hollow out the inside too. There's 2 different ways, because I know a lot of people use those carbide tools now. All right. So first thing I want to do is just ease it into the center and just start working my way out towards the back end. You want to bring your tool rest as close as you can, and give it a spin, making sure you're not going to hit while it's spinning. It's pretty good. I like to I'm going to slant my tool rest, my banjo across the waves a little bit better. So you can see it's on an angle. This actually gives you more support than having your banjo like this, because you're getting a lot of torque at the back and the front. But when you swing it to either this way or this way, you're getting actually a lot more square inches touching the bottom of your banjo, and it's not going to vibrate and move as much as you would if it was just straight across. Just a little tidbit I thought I'd pass on. You adjust that. There we go. So here more. Just want to make sure everything's set right. It helps avoid any catches you might be getting. Tighten up my headstock, making sure it's good and tight, because I did move it. I turned down my lathe all the way. Adjust my tool rest a little bit closer. But not so close that when I start the cut that the bevel's going to be sitting on the tool rest. All right, so that looks pretty good. I'm just going to get this. So the reason why that hole is off center a little bit is because of all the adjustments we were making earlier to get the bark all even all the way around. I'll probably turn it up a little faster than that. Don't want to go too crazy. There we go. And we're just going to do cuts in towards the headstock. I got my tool pretty much closed when I start the cut, and then I open it up to follow through. The reason being, if you start your cut with the flute open, it could skate back on you. You want to avoid that. It can cause you a nasty catch. So you want to close this and get a nice little groove started with your tool, and then you can open it up. This wood is a bit dry. That's why there's more powder than shavings coming off of it. So I could probably drop the tool rest just a little bit. And this tool is getting a little dull, so I'm going to switch over to my U-shape gouge here. U-shaped ones I like the U-shaped ones a little bit better for doing the insides. Where are you? There you are. Gotta line everything up on the handle before I can lock it in place. U-shapes tend to work better, at least for me, cutting the inside of a bowl just because of the shape. So let's close the tool. Yeah, this wood's a little dry and tough. Oh, yeah. My speed control kind of vibrated open a little bit there. There we go. It's a little better. I was wondering what was going on there. I need to keep telling everybody every time I do a demo, I got a new speed controller. I just got to take this whole box apart and get in there to do it. You definitely want to wear a face mask when you're making these kind of bowls, because you will have bark coming off and hitting you. One last cut, and then I'll get that carbide tool and see how it does. And I bring the tool up just a little, cutting edge a little bit above center, and then I just drop it down when I get closer. And this tool is definitely already dull. Wow. I really need to get that fixed. All right, here's that round carbide tool. It's an easy wood tool. So you just want to ease this in. These are scrapers, and the thing with these tools is you want them on center, the cutting edge, and while you're using it, you want to keep the handle parallel with the bed. Sometimes you can twist it over a little bit to help with some tear out, but generally when you're using this, you want to keep it just like this, level. And you can see how fast this carbide can take the wood away. That was a little bit too big of a cut, so I backed off and started a new one that's a little smaller. So I need to go deeper. A little bit deeper. You can't go much deeper with this tool. There is a limit to how deep you can go with these carbide tools. You just have to go back and grab yourself another gouge. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. Grab me my half inch and see how it does. I might have to run over to the grinder and do some grinding. I put my half inch. There you are. So same thing. Just close the flute till it's just pointed. The flute's pointed away from you. Start the cut. And once you get that cut started, you can open up the flute a bit. Find that sweet spot. This piece of wood is being very difficult to do. And I prefer turning the burls actually compared to these. There we go. That's a nice cut. See how far we can take it in before it starts chopping up. When it hits end grain there, it'll start acting a little different. And come back out here. Try to bring the rest out back just a little bit. Just go part way in. So now I just want to decide how thick I want this to be. So I'm just going to start working out on the rim. So just a few more cuts to get the thickness that I like. Sometimes I like to leave these thick just because it does have bark on it. That's what adds the flavor to it. But just a couple easy more passes on there just to make it just a slightly thinner. Should be good enough. And one more. Why not? There we go. That should be thin enough. Yeah, that's really nice. When you make these bowls, sometimes they have the tendency to be thinner on the lower ends, which is all right. And you can see that crack. It went all the way through. There's the other half on that side. But it's still holding together really well, so I don't see any problems with finishing it. All right. So we're done with the rim right here. So all we want to do is just deepen this. And you got to remember this isn't your ordinary shaped bowl, so you just don't want to keep plowing and plowing in. You want to be able to, you want to follow that shape all the way to the bottom. That's why I was stopping right here, because it is coming awfully close to that shape right there, and I don't want to go through it. So you just want to follow that shape down. And then we'll start working on the bottom, the depth, by moving the tool rest a bit further into the piece. So let's just stop and use my fingers just to get an idea how thin I'm getting. Okay. Let me take a little bit more right off right here. But we're almost there. Just a couple more passes right through here. So I'm just using, the way I've got my face situated is I'm looking at the inside and the shape of the outside so I can follow it. I'm not down here looking in the bowl, or I'm not up here. I'm kind of halfway in between. And you can tell by the sound that you're getting thinner. I'm getting a lot of overhang here. That's why I'm just stopping my cuts here. I'm going to get me my larger tool. I'm going to probably go over there and sharpen it real quick. That way I can adjust my tool rest inward and then get the depth I need and finish that. So I'm just going to do one more check on that. Okay, there's no bumps. It's just a little rough, which is normal. I'll use a scraper inside in a little bit just to clean that all up. Okay, I just need to adjust that right there. You can see it. Kind of a ridge right through here. So it's kind of thick compared to the rest. There we go, that's better. All right, so I want to bring in my tool rest, my angle, just to give it a little extra support. Give it a spin. You gotta make sure, that's why you spin it. Make sure those wings aren't going to hit your tool rest. And it's not. I need to back it away from that little hill that's in there still. There we go, that's better. And sometimes you'll notice that I bring my tool in at an arc, and then I drop it down, just like that. And sometimes that will help when you're coming into the end grain of the wood. Instead of going straight into it, you're kind of dodging it a little bit, so you're not fighting straight into it. See, this is fighting straight into end grain, just like that. That's fighting end grain. And there is a bark inclusion in there. There's a few of them. So I'm just going to do the old double check the depth here with my thumb. In the middle. This is just a rough estimate. Okay, so I can go another inch in there, but we'll see how this bark inclusion acts up. See, you never know what you're going to run into when you carve into a block of wood. Saw that black spot show up, and there. So right here, I'm just following the shape. You don't want to take all that bottom out and then come back and try to follow that shape, because if you do, it's really hard to come back and do that, because as you go and the piece of wood gets thinner, it actually moves on you. And if you go all the way to the bottom and then try to come back, I mean, if you rough turn it to the bottom without following the shape, and then try to come back and do it, it's gonna be kind of rough on you, because the wood's moved, so you're never gonna get it right. Okay, so that bark inclusion wasn't too deep. So let's go deeper. Yeah, you guys are being quiet. Hope you're all still with me, right? Looks like it. So now I'm just working on the depth. It skipped back on me, because what I did is I had the flute open, like I said you shouldn't. So I need to close it up, start the cut, and then I'm gonna raise the cutting point, and we're just getting way down in there. So I'm gonna have to adjust my tool rest a little further in once we get some of this wood out of the way. And now I'm just going to work on the shape so it's following the outside. You can just tell by the sound. If you hear that sound all the way from the top to the bottom, you know you're at the right thickness that you started with. So I want to check the depth one more time, because we did hog out some wood there. All right, so we're almost there. So I need to move my tool rest in just a little bit sharper angle without the wing running into anything here. There we go. So now I can just start. I'm just going to start doing cuts in towards the headstock. Uh-oh. Just kind of grabbing there, just to where I can get the depth I'm looking for. And then I can do the other cuts down towards the proper depth. So I'm going to stop there. Do another check. See, I just hollowed out the center there. Okay, a couple more passes and we'll be good. Oh. A little bit deeper in the center there. I don't know how well that light's showing up. Can you guys see what's going on in there? Yeah. Yeah, you can. Okay. Just making sure I wasn't blocking the view or anything. Like coming around this way. Yeah, you guys can see that pretty well. Okay. If you guys can't see something, or if I forget to switch a camera, please let me know. All right, I'm at the depth I want. So now what I want to do is just do cuts following the shape until we get down to the bottom there. So we just want to start here on this ridge. And swing the tool up and down, and then ease it out of the cut because we don't want to go any deeper. Just like that. So now we can just start shaping it, following the outside here. And just drop out of the cut. Yeah, we are getting a little thin there. I can hear by the sound of the tool. We're just going to clean that up. It's got a bit of a flat bottom, so I'm just going to clean up. And I still need to go a little bit deeper. It's a little bit deeper still in the middle. So I need to round over that bottom there. Set level. Get a little more round shape to it. Instead of having a flat bottom, we don't like flat bottom bowls. So as you can see, I kind of move away and just use my hands just to feel it. So I can just a couple more cuts, maybe not, so it's not so flat. I do have a little extra room to play with as far as depth goes. You certainly don't want to, even if I go a little bit deeper, that's because if I do it, I'll just be going into the foot, which will be all right. I'm not going to quite get that deep. So I'm just going to bring that in, center it. All right, so we're about a 1/4 of an inch from the bottom of the foot. 1/4 of an inch before we start going into the foot, I mean. So there's a ridge right there I left, so I just want to clean that up. And we'll grab a bowl scraper and clean some of this up here. So I have 2 different bowl scrapers. One's a bit larger than the other. They're both what we call French curve. This one's a little thicker. Well, they're both about the same thickness, except this has a bit of a sharper curve on it, which is great for doing the bottom of bowls. But if you got a lot of overhang, you want to use a wider scraper like this, so there's more support on the tool rest. This is a bit more narrow, so you're going to get a bit more vibration out of it. So I'm going to start with this one. So what you need to do too, to use a scraper like this, you need to raise up your tool rest. So when the point of the scraper is up, your handle is up a little ways there. Let me switch. Yeah. So you can see the handle going up. It's like that. When the point is on center, you don't want it straight. You definitely don't want to drop your handle when you're using a scraper. That'll cause you a catch. But this is perfect for this. Just kind of carving away that little nubbin in the bottom before I turn on the lathe there. There we go. So I'm just going to start at the bottom and work my way to the top. If it grabs like it was there just a little bit, it's because it's touching the opposite side of the blank. So you want to try to avoid that if you can. So I'm just doing the first half, and then I'm going to adjust my tool rest. I can't do it all with it in this position here, with all the scraping. So I'm going to stop the lathe and see how well we're doing. Yes, we got a nice, that feels really nice and smooth. It's like a lot of the tool marks are gone. Oh, there's some buoyancy in this wood. I can see it in the light. Okay, so now I need to bring out my tool rest a little bit out this way and bring the handle out this way and finish that cut. So I'm just going to start where we left off and hold on to it tight because sometimes it can be a little grabby. If it's a little grabby, just drop the handle a little bit, but not to where it's straight and parallel to the floor. Now, that squeaking you're hearing is because of the... So I just want to stop right here. I'm not going to go any further than that because if you are, you're running into the wings of the tool. Oh, I was going too deep with it at this angle. So I have to go back in and clean that mess up that I just did. Went a little too deep with this. Went back to where I already did it. So I need to adjust my angle here a little bit better. So it's not so grabby. There we go. So I am going to use a different scraper. I'm just going to use a round nose scraper, which is this. It's just completely round. You do not want to bring your scraper out on the wings, out here, because you're just going to run into trouble. It's going to pop and bang because you're going to be hitting air. Scrapers don't like air. You're better off with this doing push cuts with your gouges. That's what you should be doing that with. So this is just going to be all sanded. You just want to hand sand. I usually tend to just hand sand the wings. That's my go-to way of doing it. Not power sanding it or anything. I'll power sand up to a point on the inside, but then I'll stop and I'll just take it off and I'll just sit and hand sand it until it's nice and smooth. So I'm going to bring this around and make sure the wings aren't going to hit. And I'm just going to touch that right in here just to make sure I'm not running into anything here. I can feel just a little ridge right here, so I just want to get that cleaned up. So we'll see how this tool does. Yeah, this tool's really nice. It's got a nice burr on it. I tend to put burrs on them before I put them away, instead of putting them in the rack. I like to sharpen all my tools before I put them back in the rack. Okay, that's really nice. There's still a little bit of a tear out right there, so I'm going to see if I can clean that up real quick with this tool. A square scraper is definitely not going to be your choice for this. It's obvious why. Oh, I'm dropping the handle, that's why it's being grabby. If it grabs like that, it means you're dropping the handle too much. Sometimes I tend to do. All right, so it's got a really nice shape in there. So at this point, I would sand it. I should do an entire demo on sanding one of these days. It's a very boring subject, but a very important subject if you want a really nice finish. So I'm just going to turn this around. I'm going to take it off the lathe. I'm going to put this aside. So this is the blank. As you can see, it's not even. But when I do cut it, it's going to have a low spot natural edge. It's going to be higher in the back, which is fine. I like that. If it's sitting on a shelf like this, you want to put the low end on the front, and you can actually look down into the bowl and see the grain, along with the grain on the outside, which is nice. I need to drill out this blank just like I did before. Right here, when when I cut these out, I use, it's not this one, but I use something similar. These circles right here, I use an 8-inch on this one, 8-inch or 8.5. And I'll try to find the best center for it. And I'll put a nail here. This has a bigger hole than my other one. Sometimes I use this one as a spacer, so on shallow pieces. And I'm using a screw center. And I'll tap a nail in there, and on my bandsaw, I'll just follow the outside curve of this on the blade to cut out the blank. That's why it's a little awkward. There's the flat spots here and there, so it's going to be a little out of balance when we start. But just the whole shape of it's going to be out of balance, causing it. But that's the nail hole, and I just want to mark that with a marker so I know where to drill. It's at pretty much at the top of this spike, right there. And let me get my drill here. I'm going to be using the same drive, the homemade or the shop-made drive that I used earlier. And I just want to find that hole, start this drill in. I might want to do something here. Where's my... Oh, there you are. I'm going to drive a bigger hole in there with a mallet. That nail hole is a little too small, so I don't want the drill bit to wander. There we go, that's good. It'll help keep the drill bit from wandering when I start the cut. It's an awkward cut because of where it's at on the top here, so you just want to start it slow. All right. Tighten up the drill bit just a little bit. This wood, I brought this down from Oregon back in 2005. So it's good and dry. There we go. Now I'll probably have to adjust these in and out. I might even have to bring out that Elio drive, depending on how deep I can get these points to go. So we'll just slide that right in here where that point is. I need to bring these back in and then adjust them when I bring up the tailstock. Just want to make sure they're all gonna, these will engage, that's good, because they're not as far apart. I need to bring these almost all the way down to start with. I need to bring my tailstock up. Grab my tail center. That in there. There we go. All right. So we're just gonna find that hole. There we go. Find the best place for those spikes to go into. Kind of equal it out a little bit. I'll stay in the hole. All right, let's tailstock up. Darn it. Kind of juggle in here. I'm just going to see how true I got that. Okay, I can adjust it a little bit. Need to tighten, just snug it up for now, just so you can get those spikes screwed in there. I'll grab an Allen wrench to finish it off. There you go. We should be good and tight. All right. So I just want to balance the bottom, so it'll make it easier to cut. So I'm just going to loosen up my tail center just a little bit and just drop it. This is why I don't put a point in my drive center when I'm doing this. I want to get this trued up as much as I can. Makes cutting much easier. One more time, just a little bit right here. Let's tighten it. I think that's about as true as I'm going to get it. So I just want to crank out that tail center down, make sure it's good and tight. Check my headstock, make sure I was locked. Don't want that happening again. I'm going to grab my 5/8 full gouge. During the break, I went over to the grinder and put a nice new edge on my gouges. So I turned my lathe down all the way to 0. Now this is going to flop around quite a bit. I want to lock down my tailstock. See if I can push past that vibration a little bit. I did. I can work with that. Otherwise, I'll be going like 200 RPMs, which would be really slow. So I'm just going to ease it in. My tool is, where's my face mask? Maple Burl does not taste good. So I'm just going to do push cuts towards the headstock just to get the bottom trued up first. So that pop you heard is probably hit right there. So I got to be careful with that bark inclusion when I'm cutting. That's why the higher the speed for a piece like this, the better. That's why you want to get it balanced as much as you can before you start the overall shaping of the piece. This wood seems to be cutting a little softer than that cherry was. All right, so my tool rest is just a little touch high. I just noticed that, so I'm just going to drop it a little bit. Now on the camera, let's see if you guys can see this. Do the overhead. Where's the overhead? No, that's not it. Oh yeah. I don't know if you guys can quite see that. Let's see if I got the side view. You guys can see the grain in this showing up. It'll pop more. Let me see if I turn off these lights. It won't be so. There you go. You can see it a little bit. But once I really get cutting into it, it'll really pop. It's got some really pretty grain in this. And my lathe is popping around a little bit. That's expected for a piece like this. Even as small as it is. It's surprising how much it can move a lathe while it's unbalanced here. I'm going to measure this just to, can't remember if it's 8 inches or 8.5 when I cut it. Okay, it's 8 inches in diameter. So I cut this out of a bigger piece of Burl this morning. So I got that nice and flat. So now it's going to make the push cuts a little easier to start. Just like we did on that other natural edge bowl, I'm just going to start doing push cuts into this. It's going to be easier than trying to come in this way and go back and forth and try to true it up. That'd take forever because of this, how out of shape this piece is. Now for this, with it being an Elio drive, what I'd also like to do is take that pin that's out of the middle, using that, it's got a little tightening screw there, take it out and put a longer ground down bolt into that too for the hole, because right now all it is just this tiny little point, so it's not quite as safe as my shop made one. So I'm standing out of the line of fire a bit more because all it's really holding it is these 2 points at this point right now. So we'll get this rolling again. You can tell I'm getting into the rough spots here now. Just tell by the sound of it. I need to lighten up my cuts through here. I'm going to stop the lathe just to see where I'm at. All right, so I've gotten to this area here, but I still got right in here to go. So not too much. Then I can start doing the shaping of it because it'll be somewhat more balanced than it is when I first started out. So I just need to do some more push cuts, get this rounded down. All this is already taken away. So we're almost there for this part. All right, so I need to stop the lathe and adjust my tool rest. If you always remember, turn off your lathe before you adjust your tool rest. It's just a safety thing. I know sometimes I don't do it. It's just a bad habit I developed. But if you can remember to do that, that's always the safest way to adjust your tool rest. So I'm bringing my hip around so I can get the bevel rubbing a little more. Not really rubbing, but floating behind the cut. Oop. So yep, this is the rough area here. Trying to clean off. Almost there. I'm going to stop there because I'm getting quite a bit of a overhang.
Hey, Scott?
Yeah.
Double camera?
Oh, the double camera? Let's see. Oh, shoot, my camera moved. Sorry about that. You know what? I'm going to do 3 camera. I'm going to adjust something here. So you can see my lathe is jumping around a little bit. So it's this one I need to adjust. There you go. That way my camera's not hopping around so much. And I'll adjust my overhead. There we go. There you go. Now you got 3 views.
Thank you.
Yep. Set some over here. Where is it? All right. All right. So just come back to the beginning and just kind of lighten up the cut as you get towards the top. That's as far as I want to go. Now I want to adjust my tool rest around so I can finish this off. I wasn't having enough, getting too much overhang, so I couldn't go any further. There we go. So you can see that ridge where I stopped right there. So I'll pick up that cut. So this is all cut and air and wood at the same time. So I gotta just be careful with this. I'm just adjusting the shape now. So I want to come back this way. Now I'm working on the shape of it. And I just want to see where I'm at here. So it's not quite round enough. I'll have to get it a little more round. So I want to come back here and start another cut. It's almost straight right here on the top. So I want to just kind of bring this. These are just roughing cuts. And I just want to loosen up that cut. I'm going to ease that cut, that rim out a little bit. Let's see how that looks. It's kind of an odd shape, I think. So what I need to do is I just need to take this whole hump out right here. I need to bring my tool rest out. Ah, see, I didn't turn off my tool rest or my lathe. Now I'm just going to do some pull cuts here. Clean up some of those bumps. So I see a ridge right there that I need to get rid of. So the shape is getting better, except right here. That looks like crap. Yes, it does. Sorry about that, but it is what it is. All right. So on this part, I kind of flared it out just a little bit. right here at this higher point. Kind of curved it from the bottom here and then up. I don't know if I like that or not. Kind of. Gives it a little extra detail. So I just need to round this over just a little bit so I can highlight that a little bit more. And there's a little bit of a bump right here. And a little bit of a bump right here. So I'm just getting the general shape in just to see what I like and don't like, how it feels in my hands. See that just, I don't know. I don't want to just keep taking wood away, but this part right here is pretty tall compared to the rest of it. So.
Can you adjust the camera behind the tailstock
Oh,
show the bolt?
yeah, it's bumping up against my lathe, I think, and it's making pull this back.
Much better, thank you.
Yep. There we go. My TV monitor, one of my that camera is mounted to my TV monitor, and it seems like the vibration from my lathe is kind of working its way to the camera and it's moving it. Thanks for letting me know. So just still looks too blobby to me. So I'm just going to do a couple more push cuts that way. Yeah, that's a much better shape. That looks much better. So this part's always going to just kind of be out there. Yeah, that's a nice looking curve. It's not so. See, if it's like making this and then it's just making a quick turn towards the bottom, and it's kind of making it look kind of weird. But this is going to be beautiful grain on here. So right now I just want to clean the tool marks up. So you can see it. With Burl, sometimes your tool will leave like burn marks, which is what it's doing here. Your bevel will. So what I want to do is just do another pass, but I'm going to do the shear cut where I drop the handle down again. Kind of clean up all those lines that were left behind by the bottom of the bevel. So what was causing the burn lines is right here, the bottom of the bevel right there. They're not deep or anything, it's just superficial burn lines. So you want to just kind of get rid of those. And we'll see how that looks. Well, that's looking pretty. So at this point I would sand it, which if I'm going to finish it, I think I should sand it, so I can show you guys what a nice finish would look like. So that's really nice. So I'm gonna grab me my smaller bowl gouge and see if I can do a better job of doing a shear scrape across the surface here. Oh yeah, that's much better. So I'm running into the bottom of the bowl where the spikes are there. So you can't really do a shear scrape out past that. The tool marks aren't too bad along this high area here, so I need to create my foot. That's my next thing here, so bring my tool rest around. Kind of flat right here. And I just need to blend that curve in from the foot. Or what will be the foot once I create the tenon into a foot. Larger bowl gouge here to clean that up. That nice shape back. There we go. Come here, the flat. Got my spindle gouge to do that. I'm gonna turn down my lathe just a little bit. Spindle gouges don't like Burl, I guess. That's kind of rough on it. So you gotta make that flat for the face of your jaws to rest on. Don't want to forget to do that. Then when we adjust flip it over, we'll fix all that. And reverse turn it. I'm just adjusting the shape a little bit more. So I need to bring my tool around this way. There's a bump right here that I created. And it looks like it brought it back. Grab this. Oh. Touch the tool to the wood before it's on the tool rest. All right. Well, that algae pill's helping a little bit. So we got the tenon done. So I'm gonna power sand it really quick. I'll get my tool rest out of the way. So I've got 3 sandpapers already set up. So if you want to add that wax to it, we really need to sand it. Otherwise it's not going to look very good. All right. So you want if the wood's coming this way, like this, you want your sandpaper to come up to meet it. You don't want the sandpaper going the same direction, or it's just going to skip over the wood. And the sandpaper's not going to bite into the wood. So you just want to make it sure. And you turn it down. It's about 400. It's vibrating a little bit, but that's all right. So this part of it, I'm going to sand this direction. Now let's see here. We still got a few tool marks right in this area. A little bit right there. I'm just kind of right in this area here. There, that was much better. So, to get this area here sanded, we need to put the lathe in reverse. Reverse your you want to reverse or get the sandpaper here. The wood's coming up towards you now. So you want to use this part of the paper that's going down so it meets the wood. Then I'm just going to go all the way across it the same way, going this direction. Just got to be careful around that area where the spikes are. Or you can grab the sandpaper and tear it up a little bit, like it did right just that little bit. All right, so it's good to go for the next grit, which doesn't take as long because the initial grit is to get rid of all your tool marks. And any subsequent higher grits are to get rid of the lines left behind by the first sandpaper. So I'm just going to jump up. That was 180, so I'm going to jump up to 280. I'm not sure if I'll put wax on it or if I'm going to oil it. The walnut oil. They both look really nice. Uh-oh. Got a bit of a gouge right there. That is not good. See if I can sand that out. I don't know where that came from. I didn't see it earlier. So I'm going to have to touch that with my... That's not going to sand out, so I need to just touch it with the gouge real quick. See a couple of them in there. Let's do the shear cut just to clean it up. That's weird. I didn't see it. It wasn't there a minute ago. I'm know why the sandpaper would have done that. It's weird. Okay. Hit it with the sandpaper again right there. Oh, gotta get that out of the way. And it's not coming out. All right. I'm going to hit it with 180 and then I'm going to stop the sanding. I know it gets boring to watch, so. On it. Get that back on there. We're almost there. And we'll reverse this thing and finish cutting it. We'll just leave it at that. All right, that's better. It's probably going to show up in the oil, but this is a demo piece, so I'll probably just cut the oil off and use it for something else. Pop this off the Helio drive. So these are the standard number 2 jaws on the Talon chuck. There we go. Make sure want to make sure that the flats of the jaws are all against the wood, which I see a gap on this one, so I need to give the wood a little bit of a twist probably, and it'll seat it a little better. There we go. There we go. Now it's all seated up. And tighten this down. Now this is, except for the spikes, this is generally like bowl turning. The hard part is getting through the spikes, but this wood seems to be cutting pretty well, so I don't think the spikes are going to give me too much trouble. All right. So I'm going to adjust this camera over a little bit better. There we go. Now you guys got a 3-way view. What's going on? Make sure the point of the tool is going to be at center, or maybe just above. That's a little low. All right, there we go. I'm just going to adjust it up just a little bit. And I'm just going to turn it this way, get more of that banjo on the lathe bed. All right, turn down the speed all the way to 0 before you turn it on. So you can see it's kind of especially that top view, you can see what I'm going to be working with. But surprisingly, it's not that hard. You want to dive straight in, so you want to take the handle away from you. And we're just going to be fighting these spikes for a little while. Whoa, okay. What happened there is my tool went all the way over here and knocked into that wing, which you don't want to have happen. So I'm smoothing down a lot of these spikes. They are pretty sharp. You don't want your hand accidentally getting in there. And it's going to be a little rough going doing this. You just don't want to go all the way out to the rim because you want to keep the spikes there. So I'm going to turn down the speed just a hair, and I'm going to put my face shield back on. I should have done that a second ago. So we're just going to have a look. So I got that all smoothed out, so we're getting down there. We're going to get as much of this smoothed out as we can before we start going deep inside the bowl. You just don't want to take all this down. See if you can see where I stopped right here at this point. Put that over here a little bit better. All right, come on, camera. There you go. So I'm going to zoom that in a little bit. Oh, wrong way. Oh, there we go. And I stop right here because I don't want to take these spikes away. That's where the rim's going to be. So I don't want to go any further than that. So that's good solid wood there. Need to drop the tool rest down a little bit. I'm raising my handle too high on my tool. So I don't want it way up here. I want it down here. So this is going to go my tool really quick. So I turned the speed up just a little bit. It seems to be helping with the cutting. It's not fighting me as hard. So I'm flattening this area out. It is coming out a little bit domed. There we go. It's cutting a lot smoother there. To speed up a little bit. It's not vibrating as much. It's going to get a little faster. Oh, too far. I don't want it coming back off the lathe. So I'm at about 700 RPMs only. I was turning it at 400 a minute ago. So let's stop the lathe and see where we're at. So, all right, so we're getting really close to the bottom here. So the cutting's getting a lot smoother. You can see where I've started going in a little bit where that high spot is. I don't want to go any thinner than that at this point. I'm just working on this area here mostly. Just try to get that chopped down a little bit more, smoothed out. can already tell my tool's getting pretty dull. So I'm slowly working my way down in there. And I'm probably going to run over the grinder real quick, because that's just going to eat up my tool here in a minute. And when you're turning something like this, make sure you keep your hand always behind the tool rest, never in front. All right, so we got that. We're almost there. So we can sharpen the tool now. All right, here we go. Let's finish up this puppy. So it's not so bad now that I'm into solid wood again. Just gotta find that sweet spot on the tool. Okay, so since my speed dial is getting away from me again here. There we go. So we're getting it down a little bit. Stop the lathe and have a look. See? So you can see how I'm just dishing it out, getting it down into the depth I want, and then I'll come back and just clean all this out of here so the rim is the correct width I want. I just want to get this down to the depth of the piece. And right now, we've got a little ways to go, I'm sure. Yeah, just a little ways. And I can't really move my tool rest much closer. I'm just going to hit the wing like that. I might be able to do this. Swing this around. Get it a little bit closer this way. And then the wing's going to come around and hopefully miss tool rest. Just like that. Just watch your fingers when you're working like this. You've got that sharp edge right there coming around at you. Oops. I popped off the nubbin on the bottom there. And just got to be careful of that. So let's see. I'm just going to measure that. All right, so I'm pretty much at the depth I want there. Because I'll take the scraper in there and remove a little more wood, so I don't want to go all the way deep. So now I just want to work on here and just get that shape, follow the outside. So I'm leaving burn marks. My bevel is leaving some burn marks in there. So I might go back to my grinder and kind of put a secondary bevel on here. So that won't happen. I don't really want to go much deeper than this already. So let's see how we're doing on the rim here. So I got to take a little bit more off right in. There's a ridge right here. You see, we're thinner here than we are here. It's just because of the shape of the bowl. So we're going to have to take a little bit more off right here, try to avoid that part. So let's do that. So we'll start the cut inward on the inside there. And we'll see if that got rid of that. Got it a little more narrow there. So I'm going to start the cut right here. So we'll see how thin we got that. That's a little thinner. That's good. So I just need to make the bottom a little more round. It's a little flat there. It's a little bit of a ridge right in here. So I just want to start the cut right in here. Take it down a little ways. So the thing about burls is the grain just goes everywhere. There's some, you know, grain that you could follow, but most of the grain just follows its own path, and it just, that's what makes it pretty, is it just got the grain just goes sort of everywhere. All right, so we got that pretty much done for the, so we can bring in the, I'm just gonna touch that up because there's a couple of small burn marks right here. So I just want to get rid of those, and then I'll bring in the scraper. See if I got rid of those. Yeah, pretty much. That's good. Sandy will get rid of these other little ones. So I just got a little bit of a bump right here, so I want to get rid of that. See how round that bottom part feels. Oh, much better. Still got a little bit of a ridge right here. Just right here. That should have got rid of it real fast. All right, we're ready for the scraper now. So I'm going to use that round nose scraper that I had earlier, not the French curve ones, but I'm just going to use the straight round one here. So this will be the best for this shape. Grab this tool and put it in the rack so I'm not bumping into it. So I need to raise the tool rest up. And so I'm just going to bring my banjo off this direction and then turn it the tool rest in that way. There we go. Well, one thing I forgot to check is I need to bring the tool rest in just a little bit more, because otherwise I'd be falling off the edge there. Move it away a little bit. So this is sitting on parallel, so I need to raise it up a little bit so I can raise the handle. Now, Carl was talking about or David, we're talking about the negative rake scrapers, and those would be great for right now. That'd be the way to go, I think, on a piece like this. But I'm an old school, hard person to change subjects on, so I've got to give that a try one of these days. I've got enough scrapers where I can just grind them myself. I don't need to buy any special ones. All right, let's scrape this, true it up, get it nice and clean inside. Nice and gentle through here. And let's have a look. I felt really a nice cut there. Oh, that really cleaned it up in there. I really don't see any tool marks, don't feel any. There's no bumps, no ridges. You got that bark inclusion. There's nothing I can do about that. We're just going to be as thin as we can go there. Otherwise, we'd be knocking that part. But yeah, that's looking really good. So we got some really nice colors here. I'll probably just oil this. But first, I want to show you what I do to the rim here. Sometimes I'll torch it just to make it black and make it pop a little bit more. So I'm not going to mess with sanding the inside. It feels pretty nice, so it should oil up pretty good. So I'm going to grab my torch. Let me blow off my lathe here. If you guys want to see this, cringe if you want. I got to blow all the stuff off. So I'm really careful with this. I blow all the shavings away. All off the lathe. I've got a fire extinguisher over here within arm's reach. I also got a spray bottle of water in case the piece decides to flare up. Keep this all on the floor. Yeah. And I also have a cover for to put over the lathe bed here. If I can find it. Where'd it go? There you are. So I cover the lathe bed. That's my compressor, if you can hear it. I'll turn off in a second. There we go. So this is just regular propane that I use. I'm going to turn off my fan over here for the time being, or it's going to blow the flame around. You can buy this at pretty much any hardware store. Plus they sell the nozzles. They got ignition ones or some that the gas won't come out until you hit the ignition, things like that. This one is the most ordinary one they sell. So you want to turn it up all the way first. And then you fire it up. And then you can adjust the size of the flame. I don't need that big of a flame. That's huge for what I'm doing. Just a nice even flame there. And we're just going to go, and we're just going to kind of highlight these spikes with the torch. Makes them jump out a little bit more. So I'm just going to go around a couple times. Can you see it well? Now this is pretty good view, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to make sure I get most of it blackened. Get some of these tips, they don't blacken right away. So you just got to go around a couple times. So I've got some glowing there. So I'm going to spray it with some water. So put that fire out. There we go. There. You can see you actually see the grain pop up with that. And it's going to be gorgeous, huh? Real pretty. So I'm going to grab some paper towels and take that excess water off. And then we'll set it over here and dry, and we'll hook up while this is drying, I'll get that other natural edge piece we made, and we'll put the vacuum chuck up and we'll finish the bottom. And then we'll put this one on and do the same. And then we'll oil this one up just so we can see the grain pop. This is really gorgeous stuff. I'll probably oil the other one too. This is just all water. It's going to evaporate here in a minute. I'm going to go over that with a quick piece of sandpaper because it did raise the grain a little bit. I'm just going to do it by hand. Let me turn down the lathe a little bit. Be careful of those spikes when I do this. This is just getting that raised grain down. Oop. Kind of grabbed it out of my hand there. Pushing too hard. There we go. That was just 400 grit. Yep, that got rid of that raised grain. All right, we'll see y'all later. You guys take care, all right? All right. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.